I am Stephen Foskett. If you'd like to interact with this, you can tweet at me at @sfoskett. I urge you to use the ATM15 hashtag so that it can be captured by the Aruba Atmosphere organizers, and Pega can put some up on our big screen in the event as well. But without further ado, let's start by going around the table, starting with you, Keith, and just introducing yourself.
Yeah, hi, my name is Keith Parsons. I run a company called Wireless LAN Professionals. I have a blog site, wirelesslanprofessionals.com.
I'm George Stefanick. I'm a wireless architect for the Houston Methodist Hospital System located in Houston, Texas. I run a blog also called my80211.com.
I'm Jake Snyder. I'm a wireless systems engineer. I'm on Twitter at jsnyder81, and yeah.
I'm Ryan Adzima. I blog at techevangelist.net. I'm on Twitter at radzima, and I'm the co-host of the Whiskey and Wireless show.
My name is Jennifer Huber. You can find me on Twitter at Jennifer Lucille, and I blog at jenniferhuber.blogspot.com. And I hope to someday be invited to the Whiskey and Wireless videocast.
My name is Blake Krone. You can find me online at blakekrone.com, a wireless solutions architect. I'm also the host and one of the founding members of the No Strings Attached Show podcast. You can find that at nsashow.com.
Hello, I'm Craig Schnarrs, a wireless engineer for a Fortune 10 company. I blog at the wifiguy.net.
My name's Alex Lewis, and I'm not a wireless engineer. I specialize in unified communications and applications running over the network.
I am Andrew Von Nagy. I'm a mobility architect, and I blog at revolutionwifi.net. My old site was revolutionwifi.blogspot.com, but I recently migrated, and it's going mediocre because I'm not a web admin. So,
it's going mediocre. That's a great way to put it. Excellent. Well, thank you, everybody, for being on the panel. We are going to start off with a topic that I'm sure many in the audience here were thinking about when they got on the plane for Las Vegas, and that is Aruba has been sold. Did you hear about that? Yes. So HP is going to soon have a new subsidiary, a new business unit called Aruba Networks. What do you all think of that? What is your reaction to that? What was your initial reaction now that you've had a chance to think about it and a chance to hear directly from the Aruba and HP management what they plan to do with this? How do you feel about this? Who wants to start?
I think the initial feeling was, knowing HP and acquisitions, don't screw it up. And after hearing everyone in the last 2 weeks, they got a good shot of not screwing it up.
Do you really think they're not going to screw it up? I mean, that was the statement that a lot of us made, is that HP is where good Wi-Fi goes to die. Eddie had some very strong words about it, and others on Twitter, and I think right now it's one of those things that we're all kind of trying to figure out, is this a good thing or is this a bad thing? And I think from hearing from Ben and hearing from Dom and Garrett Day that this could be a good thing because it's hopefully going to give them the backing and the push to be able to be more successful and have a quicker drive cycle.
And the R&D funding.
Yeah, the R&D funding. I think hopefully it's going to happen. You know, they say that they're not going to change their ways, they're not going to have any culture change, but we all know when acquisitions happen that somebody's culture has to change.
Yeah.
Somebody's does eventually. It's whether it's 6 months or 3 years on this most other recent acquisition.
Yeah.
But it's going to change at some point in time, and I think it'll be interesting to see how long it does stay hold and true to Aruba as we know it.
We can only hope that it stabilizes through the 802.11ac wave 2, hopefully. Like nothing changes until after that or around that.
I don't see any changes for at least a year. I mean, even if with an acquisition, there's that time period where they just can't get their arms around, exactly what to integrate and what not to integrate and to make it happen. I think there's a huge amount of potential with the acquisition. You look at HP number 2 in the switching market behind Cisco, Aruba number 2 in the wireless market behind Cisco. This is clearly a scalability and a growth to, not be limited by a plateau from a wireless only focused company that couldn't compete with, frankly, Cisco that can provide a bundled solution across a lot of product lines. So I think there's a huge amount of potential to compete with Cisco in enterprise networking, but the devil's in the details, and with HP's history, like you said, of acquisitions, not only in wireless, but across product lines, across technology lines. That's the big question. And so they've made some great statements this week, I would say, about bringing the switching underneath the whole enterprise networking underneath the Aruba brand, and letting the team that's good at networking run with it. And hopefully they can stay a bit autonomous with the networking portion and execute really well.
Yeah, I've heard it's actually been called a reverse acquisition, that Dom and Kurt are actually taking over the HP business unit. And I think with their leadership, I think they have a real true shot. And that way, the best thing HP can do is stay out of the way and let them work their magic, because they've done it so far. They've done a good job. And if they stay out of the way and let the professionals do their work, you'll get stuff done right.
Well, I see this kind of from the other point of view. We're at Aruba's conference, and we're thinking from the Aruba standpoint. I think if we just change hats for a little bit and think from HP standpoint, they're getting a huge boost to their, they've tried a couple of Wi-Fi solutions, have done really well with them, and they're in a position they need good Wi-Fi. And so Aruba's almost the savior coming in and saying, we've got this part handled, let us come in and take over. So from a HP standpoint, I think it could be a really good thing.
And I think we've discussed it a little bit too in terms of what does Aruba have that they could bring to HP, not necessarily just on the enterprise side, but also on the prosumer or the consumer side. Can Aruba help HP make better decisions about chipsets going into their really annoying printers that are blasting at 802.11b data rates and laptops?
And get them switch to 5 gigahertz.
I really love the 802.11b networks being blasted. It's awesome.
Ad hoc, FTW.
It is.
Yeah, I just have a tear in my eye every time I think about the past HP acquisitions. I was a huge 3Com switching fan. Tear in my eye for that one.
You're a huge Palm OS fan too.
I loved WebOS. I was one of the few that probably did. It didn't go anywhere, but
Everyone loved compact servers, not so much HP servers.
Yes.
my first laptop was a compact.
There's compact servers still working that still say compact on them.
I think that my initial reaction was I wasn't really excited, and hearing management speak at Aruba about what their strategy is, I still have some worries and risks long term that are they going to be able to do it? And my fear isn't that HP is going to do what they did. My worry is that the HP business unit being tacked on to Aruba Networks is going to provide them. It's going to be a distraction from
the boat anchor effect.
Boat anchor effect, yeah, it's going to hold them back a little bit. There's a lot of legacy stuff there, and it's that's my risk or my worry about the risk of the acquisition. And I think that hearing the management speak, they recognize that, and hopefully that means they have a plan to keep it from.
The other big thing is Kirti talked about in the keynote demos that feature velocity versus uptime, and I think when you get into the acquisition scenario, you get into feature velocity and innovation versus work that you're adding for yourself and integration work and just organizational, communication and efficiencies, integrating the teams, morale. What I'm going to be looking for is there going to be an exodus of employees anywhere because they're not liking the HP ecosystem or acquisition or whatever.
Exactly.
Well, this is, as Keith said, kind of a shot in the arm. They need the technology. So I think that HP is going to take a lot of cues from how the industry has dealt with acquisitions over the past few years and kind of take a hands-off approach. There's been a lot of very successful acquisitions by several companies over the past few years, and it's been different than the way it's been normally done since the last time HP acquired a wireless vendor.
Well, hands-off from a product development and management perspective, but not necessarily hands-off from a sales and channel perspective, because that's really where the value is. Bringing from HP to bring Aruba on is to grow that product and have them have access to that larger sales and channel footprint and customer footprint. So I think we'll see a lot more immediate impact there on the sales side, and then watch for what's coming on the product side.
On the product side, it's not just the products themselves, it's the management side, and Airwave and HP have their own management platforms, and the integration of some of those could be quite difficult. HP's already stuck in a position where they have to maintain multiple controllers with the same set of APs. Just throwing another mix of Aruba APs in there is not probably going to work. It's going to have to some things are going to have to change pretty drastically in order to move forward.
Well, it's a good thing Airwave is such an open platform and supports a lot of different technologies. Easily adapts to that. Get rid of the HP solution, go down the Aruba solution.
There's people dying right now when you said that.
Oh, there's a lot of people dying when I said that. Yes, I know.
There's
Frankly,
also a lot of people very happy too.
I've been consulting for a long time, and until about a year ago, I only ran into an HP solution once. You know, so I mean, they don't have a large footprint from a wireless perspective. This is definitely a shot in the arm, but I got 3 words, you know, wait and see what happens, you know.
Yeah, we definitely don't know what's going to happen at all. It's up in the air. HP needs it, Aruba needs it to scale, and it could go either way. I'm hoping that it goes really well for Aruba.
Well, I think George's point is, yeah, it's a wait and see, but I think everyone's wanting it to work.
Yeah.
From both the HP side and the Aruba side, and most obviously here at the conference they want it. So
Well,
there's a lot of positive energy around.
Well,
it.
And let's
also-
remember the impact to the broader industry as well. I mean, if we have another company that's growing and can perform well and strong in the market, I think that, you know, kind of lifts all boats, right? It helps the smaller vendors too. I mean, you know, I hate to say it, but the more competitors you have in a space, the better it is for customers.
Well, not only the more competitors, but now if you have a company that innovates as much as Aruba does and can keep up with the 800-pound gorilla by being number 2 in the market, now you give them a massive R&D budget, it's just going to accelerate 802.11 altogether.
And maybe they give Cisco, you know, the shot in the arm or the kick they need to, you know, start, you know, making progress on things that maybe that Cisco has not focused on in the past because they haven't needed to from a competitive standpoint. So we could see, you know, this effect throughout the industry. So.
And that was one of the concerns. It's like, you know, Aruba has been kind of that independent, you know, number 2, and they do push the industry. They push the number 1 in the industry to do things, to respond, and they're driving innovation not only in their company but in the industry. So, you know, the big concern was, well, if you bring HP in, if that kills that innovation, you know, are the other competitors going to slack off because there's nobody challenging them?
Well, but at the same time, they only challenge them in a certain subset of deals where maybe it was a wireless specific only deal. Cisco has a lot more, you know, deals out there that are bundled deals where it's enterprise route switch, it's storage, it's UCS, it's, you know, it's all of those product lines.
This is an afterthought.
And if the wireless isn't in that deal, Aruba had, you know, there's no challenge there. So with the Aruba acquisition, or I mean with the, you know, HP acquisition of Aruba, now maybe there's more challenges and more deals for Cisco overall than just Aruba standalone.
Let's follow on that one too, because as you pointed out during this discussion, yes, Aruba is now part of HP, but interestingly, I think the most interesting aspect of this is that part of HP is now part of Aruba. What does Aruba get on the networking front from this, and how do you see that working for them and their customers?
They're going to be able to have an end-to-end solution for those shops that say, I only want one vendor. I don't care who they are as long as it meets our needs, but I want one person to call across the board. Aruba is going to be able to walk in there in more than just small distributed businesses and pull that off.
I think with software-defined networking and open standards, which is, you know, kind of HP's calling card of what they market around, and Aruba has to a certain degree too, the 2 platforms under one kind of roof can really drive some interesting integration options from a, you know, a network management, automation, SDN type of perspective in the long term, probably not in the short term, but medium to long term, that could have some interesting impacts, I think.
Especially get those 2 business units aligned to where they're working together. I mean, the SDN play is going to be big in the next 10 years, and HP has a lot of intellectual property there.
And Aruba has some great cloud solutions, but they're niche and small in scale. HP has a huge investment in cloud, and the ability to leverage that on the Aruba side, I think, will take some small things that they do and make them very large.
Well, that's an interesting parallel then with the Meraki acquisition that Cisco had with the cloud play and the software focus as well. You know, you see these trends play out across the industry. It's, you know, very, very similar reasons that these acquisitions happen, because companies are seeing the same trends in the marketplace and they need to move into the same spaces.
Yeah, in many ways it seems that the Meraki is a prototype to show HP how to do this right. You know, and hopefully, and certainly for what they're saying, what they said yesterday and the day before, it sounds like they are aware of that as a prototype, letting it run independently, letting it, letting the corporate culture continue, letting them continue to develop the products as they are, and try to, not get in the way too much. But as somebody pointed out, eventually, when they're one company, they become one company. And, that can work both ways. There can be pollination in both directions there, and hopefully there will be.
The interesting part of that is rolling the switching line underneath Aruba, though.
Yeah.
That's uncharted territory as far as that whole Meraki situation is concerned.
I think it shows initiative from HP on wanting to make this work.
It definitely shows a commitment to making sure the networking line is a unified line of products.
We don't have legacy competing against the newcomer. We've got, you take it, you run with it, you understand it. It's going to be what drives your business, like you said, for converged access solution. That we've all wanted to have that converged access solution for a while, and we've been kind of hitting the mark in a bunch of different areas.
Yeah, that's actually an interesting aspect too, is there seems to be a really remarkable dose of realism here from HP's part. They didn't buy a small wireless startup in hopes that they could, sell the technology. They bought an established, like one of the top companies in the wireless industry, and like you said, they turned over a lot of their stuff to it. This is a pretty aggressive move for HP, but it's also a pretty reflective move for HP, because it seems like they're accepting their place in the wireless market and hoping to build a new one.
Somebody mentioned they
want the wireless.
Mm-hmm.
They could have picked up a lot of people if all they wanted was wireless.
Exactly. There are many small wireless companies that they could have picked up for a lot less money.
And somebody mentioned they were worried about the potential talent drain or attrition coming out of Aruba. But putting all of HP networking under the Aruba team, you have to wonder if now people that have been at HP for 10, 20, 30 years might be feeling a little bit defensive.
Or give the Aruba folks a new challenge that keeps them interested, engaged.
Sure, it could go either
the
way.
The acquisition, right? Yep.
Mm-hmm.
HP is definitely one of those companies you go to HP as a lifer. And for them to report into Aruba now is going to be very interesting.
Yeah.
So let's actually quickly ask the audience if anyone has any feedback or reaction to this. We've got a couple minutes here, or we can move on to the next one. We've got one over here, Tom. And if you can just mention your name first and then tell us your question. Yep, or your comment.
My name is Ben Carnevale from the University of Texas at El Paso. I think hearing about everything, I just only heard one person mention culture. And I think at UTEP, we used to have Cisco wireless for 10 years, and then we moved over to Aruba. One of the reasons was because we liked the attention that Aruba paid to the customer that Cisco stopped doing. They quit. We haven't seen Cisco reps in 3 years. Mm-hmm. And Aruba, we get a phone call even a year or two after we've already purchased the equipment. So I think the acquisition is a good idea. If the culture changes, then there's going to be a shift also in the customer's mindset. Because that's what we really like about Aruba.
Well, from what I understand, and from what other people have said here, it's not just the product, it's not just the services, it's the channel. It's the way that Aruba operates that was valuable in the acquisition. So they're bringing the entire package. Like you said, a company that you want to do business with that keeps in touch.
Yep, customer first.
Anybody else? Yep. Okay, we've got another one over here. Oh, it's Eddie. Hey, Eddie.
Hey, Eddie.
Oh, we got. Oh.
My name is Dennis McClain from Hughes, and I thought one interesting thing wasn't just the acquisition, but if you look at the keynote, what I noticed that Aruba did a lot of focus on partners, and the impression I got was that they have the networking. Well, HP and Aruba have the networking, wireless and wired, but now being an MSP. The way I looked at it is we always do an end-to-end solution. So we'll do Aruba wireless, we'll pick a switching company, we'll pick a security company, and down the line. The impression I got from them is they're saying, okay, if you're an MSP, if you're anybody, we may not have the routing, we may not have the other components and the security under HP and Aruba, but we have partners that do. So if you want a bundle of solution, you can come to us and we give you everything you want. And I thought that was the part that stood out the most. The HP Aruba part, I mean, it was important, but it wasn't as important to me as all the partners they brought in during that keynote.
Well, I think that's something that Aruba has definitely done well in the past, is building an ecosystem that they let others play with them. They wanted to be able to integrate into their networks as well. And I actually saw, my thing that I took from the keynote, and I actually put it out on Twitter is that buy me now that you've got all this funding and backing. It was kind of
the idea that you can pick and choose your solution set.
It was also who is Aruba going to be looking at as their possible acquisitions with the backing of HP to further their sets, like you said as well, to have that end-to-end solution. That's definitely something that Aruba does.
And Aruba's done a really good job with their acquisitions over the last couple of years. They hit home runs from Airwave all the way through ClearPass, so they've got that part figured out.
And I think that their commitment to the partners and their ecosystem shows that they know that no one company can have a solution to fit every single use case and need.
Exactly.
So they're willing to work with other people for those niche cases, for those tiny gaps in the product lines that'll fill in and take it, like Arista during the keynote touting their incredibly fast switching.
That's been driven by necessity, though. I mean, they've had to come up against Cisco, and Cisco offers a bundled solution. And if they don't have those partnerships, it's a live or die business situation for them. So they've had more incentive to do that.
But the Cisco bundled solutions don't always work for everybody.
Right.
So we've got a couple more questions here. Who's got the mic? Eddie has the mic. Okay.
Eddie Forero. I was not happy about this deal at all.
No,
when
you
I
weren't.
first heard about it last week, it was not something I was very happy about. I'm still cautious about the whole deal. But I will say, you said the C word, the one word that I was most concerned about, more than technology, more than anything. When you have an organization like Aruba, it's really about the culture, right? And about how they look at things. And like Keith had said, their acquisitions have been really, really good because they're pretty laser focused on what they want to do and how they want to do it. And that was something that I was terrified, really, of HP acquiring Aruba and that culture going away because of the experience that we've all had of watching CEO after CEO at HP come in and make horrible acquisitions. Not necessarily that they were horrible to bring them in, but what happened to that acquisition. The benefits that were supposed to come out of that acquisition just dematerialized. And that's what I was terrified. Hearing Dominic speak that first day and talk about, I believe him. What I want HP not to make him a liar. I believe that him and Kirti running that whole enterprise division is a great thing, and I want it to succeed. So I'm going to be out the front. I definitely want it to succeed, but I would say I'm cautiously optimistic now, knowing that that's the way it's going to go, that the Aruba management is going to be steering that ship. That gives me more confidence in the HP.
Do we bring up the history of Meg Whitman and her experience as a executive with eBay and PayPal and keeping the brands separate and letting them run on their own? So hopefully that bodes well.
What was that line? They didn't call it ePal.
ePal.
eBay and ePay.
And don't forget that eBay buying PayPal gave us Tesla and SpaceX. I'm just saying. All right, Colin?
Hi, I'm Colin Lowenberg. You may remember me from Accenture. I'm focused on indoor location positioning. I'm pretty excited about HP buying Aruba because now Aruba can help them figure out how to fix all those wireless printers and get rid of all those ad hoc wireless networks.
Yes, HP setup.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, God.
I think I've heard that half a dozen times.
Yeah.
All right, one more and before we move on to the next topic here.
Here's our last question from John.
John Kilpatrick with Yahoo. First, I'll point out that the Meraki acquisition is kind of a weird example to choose because when I want to get an update from Cisco on where their wireless solutions are at, I still have to have 2 meetings. That the guys who sell me Callis 4500s can't talk to me about Meraki and vice versa, so that's a little weird. Aruba is incredibly customer focused. I can point to features that I just read in release notes that are things that I've specifically said you need to do, and then they show up. Some of them I'm not proud of from the past, like token caching, but some of them are really exciting, like some of the IPv6 enhancements. If that changes, it will be apparent very quickly, and I think they'll hear from vocal customers like us that it's not working. So I just encourage all of them to give them feedback. And if you feel it's not working for you, you know, let them know loudly. I happen to be fortunate that my office is closer to their warehouse than their offices are. So walking over there and letting them know is not a problem. I'll just encourage everyone to do the same. Let them know how you feel, and if it's not working, they have to know.
No, I'm very, very pro this whole thing. I'm very positive. I think it's going to turn out well. But you mentioned how quickly they're able to add features and add enhancements based on requests. Typically, large companies are less able to do that than the smaller ones. Hopefully that's something that doesn't fade as their engineering teams expand.